Look at this thing. Just look at it. I mean, for goodness sake. I think this might be one of the prettiest modern day cars on the market. Look at it, haunched arches, a prowling backline, this long and slender bonnet, and enough emblems and badges and trim finished in so much black, you'd be forgiven for thinking you've gone colourblind. This is a car that probably needs no introduction at all. It's the Jaguar F-Type. This one's rather special. This is the R75 Coupe Plus. And before I get into the details, let's just take a minute. My God, it's pretty. Underneath this gloriously enormous, sleek bonnet is JLR's masterpiece of an engine, the 5-litre V8 supercharged one. And for this R75 edition, the engineers have been quite busy. They've tuned it up to 567 brake horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque. Long story short, this thing goes rather well. So what does all that mean in numbers? Well, I'll give them to you briefly. It means a top speed of 186 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds, and of course, not forgetting the 567 brake horsepower. This thing goes well, but it doesn't only go well, it sounds well. You could say that with the haunched rear arches, the lovely stalking roofline, the long bonnet, it looks like a Jaguar stalking its prey. But it also sounds like one too. Shall we? It's so rude. That's the best word for this car. It is rude. It's obnoxious. Oh. The week before this, I was driving around in a fully electric, relatively fast, but fully electric car. And I'd almost talked myself by the end of that week into thinking, you know what, these electric cars, when they're quick, maybe they are good fun. Maybe they're good enough. And then on the day that that electric car went back, this was delivered. And then this happens. Oh, just magical. Now this engine, much like the car, has been around for quite some time. But it doesn't feel any less special, neither the engine nor the car itself. Over 10 years now this combination has existed, but the car has got ever so slightly better, and so has that engine. But it's not only the engine that's been improved, the gearbox in this thing has been tweaked as well to be extra spicy. This is a ZF8 gearbox in here, and well, that's a fairly common gearbox now. It's what you find in BMW M3s, M4s, M5s, and in BMW M3s, M4s and M5s, I've actually complained about it. The ZF8 gearbox has felt a bit too soft, not quite aggressive enough, especially in comparison to the good old-fashioned SMG and DCT gearboxes of yesteryear. But in this, the Jaguar engineers have somehow unlocked a whole new level of spicy goodness, because this thing shifts like the old M3s. Now there's one other factor that makes me really like this F-Type, and it's the price. This thing, with options, this exact car, is priced at £109,000. And you know what? I think that that is quite good value. And before you shout at me in the comments and arguing and disagreeing, I challenge you to go and find anything else remotely new, crucially, that has the same sort of power, the same sort of performance, and the same sort of heritage and history as a brand like this one. I don't think you'll find it. I was driving a BMW 5 Series recently. It was a 550e, not an M550e, not an M5. Admittedly, it was an M Sport, but it was essentially just a 5 Series. And that was more than £110,000 with options. That's more expensive than one of these. What would you rather have? An F-Type sports car with a supercharged V8 engine, or a BMW 5 Series? I feel like a child driving this. This is, as an engine, I'm no stranger to it. In fact, the last time I drove a car with this engine in it, it was in the F-Pace SVR. Same engine, slightly different tune. And in this, it just feels so much more alive. It feels so zesty. This feels like a genuinely exciting car. But that said, it's not overpowered. And that's something I'm finding more and more often at the moment in a lot of new cars, new sports cars and supercars. They're throwing them out with 650, 700, 800 brake horsepower in some instances. And that is just too much for the road. Whereas this, 567 brake horsepower, that's no small number. However, it is usable. I'm able to drive this thing spiritedly at the speed limit without feeling like A, I'm going to lose my license, or B, spit myself off into a ditch. The power delivery is just perfect. And then of course, because of course it's V8 supercharged, that means you've got power all the way through the rev range, right from down low all the way through to up high at the red line. So that just means that putting your foot down rewards you with the most dramatic acceleration. I shall prove that now. Down to second, a lovely 90-degree turn. I'm sat down at 2,000 RPM, foot to the floor. Oh, what a thing. But the beauty of it, of course, is that the minute I want to just behave and tone it down, I can take it out of the racy mode that I've got it in now, standard road mode, exhaust mode on quiet, knock it across to full auto, and it's a sedate, sensible car. It's got a really nice, compliant ride, this as well, both for the fast stuff, but also for the slower stuff. Driving through my little local village, as I am doing now, I'm not feeling like I'm disturbing any neighbours or crashing my way over bumps. Just kind of blends in quite sensibly. Of course, on top of the sensible driving mode, it's also quite a sensible and usable car. I've got an absolutely enormous boot behind me. I've got plenty of storage in here. I've got all the comforts that I would want. Admittedly, this has got a few aftermarket options, things like heated and cooled seating, heated steering wheel, but it's an option worth ticking. And as you're cruising along, sitting in your comfortable seats with them heated, or if you're on a hot day with them cooled, again, I feel like I could be sat in this seat for many, many hours very comfortably and very happily. And then, when you've had enough of being the sensible citizen, knock the gearbox into sport, pop the switch down to race mode, and get yourself up to the speed limit before you've even had a chance to blink. It's wonderful to drive sedately, it's wonderful to drive quickly, and it's easy to do both. And that is, again, in this day and age, something that a lot of manufacturers aren't quite getting right. It's usually one or the other. And here, both briefs have been absolutely nailed. God, it's just so silly. Oh. There aren't many cars, modern day cars, that I get in that make me smile as much as I'm smiling in here. And that says a lot. Now, given the age of this car and the fact that it's not exactly brand new, I won't be doing a full feature review in this video. I will, however, be writing some words down at driven.site. So if you want to see a good old-fashioned car review, head on over driven.site and you can see my written words there. But there is something definitely worth talking about whilst we're in this car, and it's, well, it's actually quite a difficult subject. Now, for this bit, I'm going to try my best to not get emotional, which sounds like a weird thing to say, doesn't it? But I feel like it's a valid point. The Jaguar brand is synonymous with noise, and the noise is only a byproduct of the other accolades. The name Jaguar alone is an iconic name in the world of motorsport. Think back to the early XKs, the XK 120, 140 and 150 of the 1940s and 50s, the Le Mans conquering C-types and D-types of the 1950s, the E-types, road cars and racing cars of the 1960s, the XJS racing cars of the 1970s and the XJRs of the 1980s and early 90s. Then think about the list of iconic road cars, movie cars, design classics. Jaguar is so much more than just another car manufacturer. This is a global institution. And the idea of it now switching from a car brand synonymous for racing cars and loud noises, well, it just makes me feel a little bit sad that ultimately this is all very shortly going to be coming to a very silent stop. A few years ago in 2021, Jaguar announced that they would be cutting the end of their internal combustion cars the year 2025, ready to then switch over to EVs. Now, I understand car manufacturers doing this. Volvo have done exactly the same thing, but that's Volvo. That's a company not renowned for building racing cars. And let's not forget, the EV deadline date has been pushed back now to 2035. That's 11 more years of potential noise, of potential excitement, of cars with characterful soul and sounds like this one. And I know what some of you might be saying. Well, Jaguar still make racing cars and their EVs. Yeah, they do. Formula E. Do you watch it? Do you enjoy it? Do you get as excited about Formula E in the way that you do about Formula One, about World Endurance Championships, about touring cars? I don't. My other concern is that whatever does come next for Jaguar in the form of an EV, it's going to need to be spectacular. It's going to need to be sporty and sleek and luxurious, and it's going to have to look amazing. The problem is, I feel that for Jaguar, this is all happening all too little, all too late. Think, for example, about other manufacturers and what they've announced for their EVs moving forward. You've got brands like Tesla, BYD, Rimac. They've all shown off the cars that are coming in the not too distant future. Jaguar hasn't, bar a very cryptic Instagram feed. They need to up their game and they're going to have to do something incredibly special. But I fear for the brand and for the community behind it, it might be all too little, all too late. And that's why I'm starting my own charity appeal. I'm calling it Save the Jaguar. Hello, I'm John Markar. In my many years as a motoring journalist, I've seen the tragic demise of iconic cars with iconic engines. just like this Jaguar F-Type R75 Coupe Plus. Sadly, the numbers of these cars in the wild are diminishing. They're disappearing off the face of the earth. But luckily, there is still time to make a difference, and you can help. You see, for a monthly donation of just $6.99, plus an initial payment of £18,780, that's the deposit, you can claim ownership of your very own Jaguar, like this one here. And you can keep it forever, or just a few years until your PCP runs out. But you can keep it knowing you've kept the legacy of Jaguar cars alive with a roaring engine and a roaring heart. To do your part, simply walk into your nearest Jaguar retailer and shout, "I'd like to save a Jaguar." In all seriousness though, if you have been sitting on the fence for a while on the idea of getting yourself a V8 Jag, for f***'s sake, get yourself one of these, because they are absolutely epic. This one admittedly has been a little bit silly, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope equally that Jaguar really don't get this wrong, whatever comes next, because having to say goodbye to cars like this without a following legacy is going to be a really sad ending to a really, really brilliant story. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will reply to as many as I possibly can. For now, I will say thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then please do drop us a like, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to see the next video that we upload. And we look forward to bringing you more of the same very soon. Lastly, don't forget you can see everything we do, including an actual serious journalistic review of this car, at the website driven.site. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.